In John chapter 3, we find a situation where John the Baptist and his disciples, or his followers at the time, are down the riverbank from Jesus. And they're conflicted because Jesus, they say, is right down and he's baptizing, and many of those who were following John up until this point are leaving. This is verse 22 through 27. And they come to John and they say, hey, the one that you were just testifying about, he's right over there with his guys, and a lot of people are leaving us and they're going to him. And John says, a man can only receive that which has been given to him from heaven. And then he goes on to describe the position of the bridegroom. And he says the friend of the bridegroom waits and attends to him. And he's not just waiting without purpose, but he's waiting and listening to hear his voice. And John says, I have heard his voice, and my joy has now been made complete. The importance here is that John had a fullness of joy that came only from being in a certain posture or position to hear the voice of Jesus. I want to encourage you that we've all been built with a certain capacity or ability to hear the voice of Jesus. John 27, Jesus says, my sheep know my voice, and another they will not follow. Another thing that's important is John says, my joy has now been made complete, which lets me know that the completion of joy in this life can only be found by hearing the voice of Jesus. Consider with me, if you would, to the extent that we will go to complete our joy whenever there's not a living voice in our life. We'll have to supplement our joy with our activities in life. We'll have to supplement our joy with the invitations that we get to go here and to go there. We'll have to supplement our joy with the promotion on the job or our social standing amongst our friends. We will go to great lengths to supplement this joy because we were made for fullness of joy. But yet that fullness of joy can only be found by having this voice that comes from Jesus. I would encourage you that the essence of our lives are to hear the voice and then to move in and with the voice. Jeremiah 23:18 says, who has stood in the counsel of the Lord to see and to hear his word? And who has then listened and obeyed? Our life is to be driven or moved by the word of the Lord. I would also submit to you that I don't believe there's any better way that God forms a people in our day. That our lives are being conformed to the image of the Son. And in the same progression that we find in John chapter 1, that the word comes, but it doesn't just come. You see, many end there. They end with just simply satisfying themselves with the right information or with having some fancy revelation. But the word is not coming just to come. The word comes and then takes upon itself flesh. There must be the fleshing out of the word, or the moving in and with the word. When God was going to transfer heaven to earth, it looked like a man. He brought Jesus. He brought the word with flesh on it. He brought a man that would move in and with the voice, a man that would surrender himself and only do that which he heard the Father doing and saying. A man who would be obedient to move in and with the voice. John was saying there is no greater place of satisfaction or fulfillment or nothing else in all of this life that will complete joy like knowing the voice of Jesus and only doing what he knows the voice of Jesus is asking him to do. Consider how much of our life is done without the voice. We're simply trying to initiate works so that we can seem as if we're busy or we're active or we're becoming fruitful, to seem impressive to men, to seem as if we're being able to keep up with the ranks around us, to see as if we're able to get into the same lanes as those of us that we run with or walk with or do life with. We could eliminate a lot of the frustration that we find in life if we would take a few steps back and identify the voice and be unwilling to do anything outside of what it is we know Jesus is saying to us. On the day we stand before him, he will say, well done. And that well done will be in exact proportion to that which he has spoken to you as an individual. You could save yourself a lot of heartache, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of tragedy in life if you would stop trying to be obedient to someone else's call, if you would stop trying to be obedient to what Jesus' voice has been saying to other individuals. We could save a lot of tragedy and heartache in our life if we would just simply be at rest with who it is He's asked us to be and what it is He's asked us to do. And this and only this will complete our joy, like John said. I have His voice, and by having His voice, I have the completion of joy. God bless you today as you follow His voice.